Number 5. Analise Michelle. So she grew up practicing Christianity in Bavaria, West Germany back in the 1960s, where she attended Mass twice a week. When Analise was only 16, she suddenly blacked out at school and began walking around in what her friends and family described as a trance-like state, and she herself was unable to recall any of it. Now, a year later, Analise experienced a similar occurrence, where she woke up in a trance after her body went through a series of convulsions, causing it to shake uncontrollably. Analise visited a neurologist who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, a disorder that causes seizures, loss of memory, and experiencing visual and auditory hallucinations. After her diagnoses, Analise began taking medication for her epilepsy and enrolled in university in 1973. Now, if that medication was successful, I wouldn't be talking about it right now, would I? Sadly, the medication she was given failed to help her, and as the year progressed, her condition deteriorated. She began to see the face of the devil wherever she went, and constantly heard demons whispering in her ears. When she heard the demons telling her she was damned and would rot in hell while she was praying, she concluded that the devil himself must be possessing her. Now, Analise sought out priests to help her with her demonic possession, but all the clergy she approached rejected her requests, saying that she should seek medical help and that they would need the permission of a bishop to do anything. And now, at this point, Annalise's state had become extreme. With the knowledge that she was possessed consuming her, she constantly ripped the clothes off her body, compulsively performed up to 400 squats a day, crawled under a table, and barked like a dog for 2 days straight. She also ate spiders and coal, bit the head off a dead bird, and licked her own fluids from the floor. Yeah, I'm totally not queasy, what do you ask? Finally, she and her mother found a priest, Ernst Alt, who believed in her possession, stating that she didn't look like an epileptic. If I'm taking this with a grain of salt, I'd love to know what his definition of an epileptic looks like. Analise wrote to Ernst, I am nothing. Everything about me is vanity. What should I do? I have to improve. You pray for me. I want to suffer for other people, but this is so cruel. Now, he petitioned the local bishop, Bishop Joseph Stangl, who eventually approved the request and granted local priest Arnold Renz the permission to perform an exorcism, but ordered that it be carried out in total secrecy. Being granted an exorcism in the 70s was like winning a lottery. They were very rarely granted due to the sensationalism caused by the release of The Exorcist, and the Catholic Church was kind of determined to protect their reputation. Key reputation on exorcism at the time. Work with me here. Over the next 10 months, following the bishop's approval of Annalise's exorcism, Ernst and Arnold conducted 67 exorcisms, lasting up to 4 hours per session on the poor woman, which is absolutely heinous if you ask me. Through these sessions, Analise revealed that she was possessed by 6 demons. All these spirits would jostle for control of Annalise's body and would communicate from her mouth with a low growl. Now, the demons constantly argued with each other, with one being quoted as saying, "People are stupid as pigs. They think it's all over after death. It goes on," and another replying that the first was nothing but a big mouth who had no real say in hell. Throughout these sessions, Analise would frequently talk about dying to make up for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priests of the modern church. We have the audio still of this recording, so as long as it hasn't disappeared from the interwebs yet, I'd like to have a bit of it play now for y'all, if possible.
Dass die Dinge, die Embryos nicht so anschauen, Gottes Gelang. So.
Poor girl. She broke the bones and ripped the tendons in her knees from continually kneeling in prayers, and I just felt that statement in my own ballet-worn niece. Over these 10 months, Analise was frequently restrained so the priest could conduct the exorcism rites. She slowly stopped eating and eventually passed from malnutrition and dehydration on July 1st of 1976, at only 23 years old. Number 4. Interview with the Demon. In the world of, the unexplained and mysterious, few phenomena grip our collective curiosity like the alleged demonic possessions and otherworldly encounters. Now, one such instance, shrouded in eerie details, unfolded in the 1980s on KATB Christian radio in South Alaska. Rebecca, a woman who claimed to be possessed, dialed into the radio show with a harrowing tale. She spoke of her body being overtaken by a malevolent entity, a demon she referred to as the Keeper or the Guardian. As she recounted her experiences, a chilling raspiness permeated her voice, which many believed to be the unmistakable sign of something otherworldly. Now, the radio broadcast progressed, and around the 22-minute mark, the seemingly unimaginable occurred. The Keeper began to speak through Rebecca, its words echoing with an unsettling resonance. We do have a snippet from that fateful day, and I'd like to let y'all hear it now.
Christ. Don't worry, Rebecca. God is in control. Don't you worry. Who are you? The Keeper? You are not the Keeper.
The demon's sudden manifestation left listeners both fascinated and petrified. Questions swirled in the minds of those who tuned in. Was this a sinister force or like a hoax? Rebecca's claim went even further, alleging that her mother had sinister intentions of sacrificing her to Satan on Halloween. Tonight, the night where the boundary between the earthly and the supernatural is believed to be at its thinnest. But it was the keeper's reaction to the audience's prayers that struck the most profound chord of fear. As the listeners sent their own collective prayers and supplications, a palpable fury surged through the possessed woman. Now the keeper sensed the well-wishing, and it reacted with a malevolence that defied the understanding of those who had dared to listen. This chilling recording raises complex questions about, the nature of demonic possessions, belief, and the power of collective consciousness. Was Rebecca genuinely possessed by an otherworldly entity? Or was this like a theatrical performance crafted to shock and disturb? Could there be an explanation rooted in psychology and, the human capacity for suggestion? Were supernatural forces genuinely at play? This unnerving incident challenges us to ponder the thin veil that separates our reality from the unknown. It showcases that the power of belief, fear, and the profound impact of storytelling on our perception of the unexplained. What truly transpired that day on KATB Christian Radio remains a mystery, and the keeper's raspy voice continues to haunt the minds of those who dare to explore the depths of the unexplained. Number 3, Coast to Coast. So, we've been through a couple of these already. You know where this is going. One such incident occurred in 2002 on the renowned AM radio show Coast to Coast with Art Bell. On that fateful night, Art Bell, the host if you couldn't have guessed, unleashed a chilling audio recording that claimed to be from the very depths of hell itself. According to the narrative, the unsettling audio was recorded during a deep drilling experiment in Siberia of all places. As the story goes, this ambitious venture inadvertently pierced the veil between our world and another, creating a portal to hell. Now the recording itself is a nightmarish soundscape, filled with eerie echoes, cries, and indescribable otherworldly noises. It's as though the very fabric of reality had been torn, and listeners found themselves peering into the abyss. Now we do indeed have a copy of it, so I'll let that play now.
What you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
The Siberian borehole incident, often referred to as the well to hell, ignited a firestorm of debate and speculation. So, once again, we gotta ask, was this audio a genuine glimpse into the supernatural, or was it like a masterful hoax meant to exploit our deepest fears? Skeptics point to various inconsistencies and suggest that the recording could be nothing more than cleverly engineered sound effects. Others argue that, the event itself may have been exaggerated or even fabricated, given the lack of concrete evidence supporting the claims. But the allure of the recording exists. What do we know? Whether it was an authentic descent into the abyss or a cleverly orchestrated tale, it still resonates as a symbol of our insatiable quest to pierce the veils that shroud the inexplicable. In my opinion, it was probably true. Number 2, Mortis the Wizard. So, once again, in the realm of the paranormal, stories of demonic encounters kind of take us to the edge of our understanding, challenging our perceptions of reality. One such unsettling episode unfolded in 1999, the turn of the century, when an individual known as Mortis the Wizard accompanied a pastor to a house plagued by a reported demonic possession. The pastor, doubling as a demonologist, issued a somber warning to Mortis before their fateful visit. Just brace yourself for what might happen here, okay? This one's quite bad. Are you ready? He cautioned. Mortis, though inexperienced in such matters, steeled himself for the unknown, and the recording that emerged from that ominous night is nothing short of chilling. In it, a malevolent presence, identified as a demon, growls directly in Mortis's face. Now the demon's words are laced with profanity and violent threats, sending shivers down the spine of anyone who dares to listen. Now, speaking of that, I think we do have a smidgen of the recording that's safe to play, so if so, I'd like to share it with y'all now.
Welcome to my clinic. Into the light. Well, it's alright you swear it like that, but it won't do you any good.
What sets this case apart is the disturbing auditory anomaly. Amid the cacophony of sinister utterances, the demon produces a series of belching noises, adding an unsettling layer to an already nightmarish encounter. Hey Beetlejuice! Astonishingly, Mortis claimed that these eerie sounds didn't require any specialized equipment for their audibility, defying the conventional explanations often tied to, like EVP, electronic voice phenomena. As we dive into this bizarre incident, questions, naturally arise. Was this truly a demonic encounter? Or could there be alternative explanations rooted in psychology, acoustics, or the power of suggestion? Well, the skeptics out there may seek rational answers. Believers in the paranormal find themselves at a crossroads. The peculiar combination of growling, profanity, and belching in the recording is both unsettling and thought-provoking. It forces us to confront the limits of our understanding and the mysterious nature of the unexplained. Whether you approach this tale with skepticism or curiosity, it remains a chilling enigma, forever etched in the depths of the unexplained, awaiting further exploration and understanding. Number 1, live SciFi Dog. Yeah, that was right, I did say dog. One spine-tingling instance unfolded during a 2016 live ghost hunting expedition captured by the YouTube channel Live Sci-Fi. So as the playback began, what unfolded was a perplexing revelation. A member of the team, Tim, while reviewing the recorded audio, noticed that they appeared to be communicating with a malevolent entity, possibly the devil himself. Now, in most cases, skeptics might swiftly attribute such auditory anomalies to faulty equipment, an easy escape from the macabre. But this recording begs to differ. What adds an even more hair-raising layer to the story is the presence of an unexpected character. Patches, the dog. Not to sound like a young folks TV host or anything. As the voice of the supposed devil resonated through the recording, Patches exhibited bizarre behavior. The dog's erratic movements and strange reactions aligned perfectly with the moments where the sinister voice, reportedly emerged.
Oh, sorry, Patch. Chill out, chill out. Chill out. Chill out. It's okay.
And then, the audio takes a dark and unexpected turn. A chilling utterance emerges from the abyss of the recording. I am the devil. The words are clear, unsettling, and thought-provoking, injecting a profound sense of dread into the atmosphere. The members of Live Sci-Fi found themselves in the midst of a haunting conundrum that transcended the boundaries of the rational.
I am the devil.
This whole thing prompts, a wealth of questions and reflections. Once again, was this recording a genuine communication with an otherworldly entity? Or could it be a case of the power of suggestion and collective fear manifesting in strange ways? Could it be the result of a misinterpretation? Or even a carefully crafted hoax? The peculiar synchronicity between the alleged devil's utterances and Patch's reactions raises questions about the animal's sensitivity to the supernatural, a topic very ripe for exploration. Maybe there's more to the connection between animals and the unexplained than we currently comprehend. The spine-chilling proclamation, I am the devil, forces us to kinda, nobody's gonna say that if they're not.
Number 5, Driveway Alien. Coming up first on our list is going to be this weird video of what looks to be, I'm gonna be honest with you, a visitor from another world touching down on the driveway. Now you wouldn't expect aliens to make first contact in Colorado, but hey, here we are. In the video, we can see a really scrawny little creature running up and down Vivian Gomez's driveway. This creature had people talking after she posted the video to Facebook because, well, look at it. What is it? It's almost like it's got these giant, elephant ears flopping around when it moves. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this looks a lot like Dobby from Harry Potter, so we might have to seriously entertain the possibility that this is an elf that just got a sock and is running in happiness to be free. The woman whose driveway caught the security footage, Vivian Gomez, had this to offer alongside the video when she posted it on Facebook. So I woke up on Sunday morning and saw this on my camera, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck. First, I saw this shadow walking from my front door, and then I saw this thing. Has anyone else seen this on their cameras? The other 2 cameras didn't pick it up for some reason. Now, unfortunately, her security system would only film for about 10 seconds or so. So this is the only footage she had of the mysterious driveway creature. Gomez clarified for everyone that whatever this thing was, it wasn't her son. It wasn't a kid in a costume, because she doesn't let him out by himself that late. Although I think there's definitely a real question to be asked that she saw this thing running down her driveway late at night, and she considered the very real possibility that it might be her son. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the most reasonable, rational explanation is that this is a freed house elf very excited for his future in the first time. Or an alien, very possibly. Could be an alien that just touched down, or could also be a Terminator traveling in time. That's why it looked naked. Gang, let me know down below what you think this mystery monster could have been. I'm curious to hear your input. And if you're looking for more scary content, don't even move a finger. We'll have scary videos playing after this one and hundreds more on the channel. Drop a subscribe for fresh screams in your inbox every day, twice a day. Number 4, the Tentacle Beast. Now, let's take a deep dive underwater for our next one and take a look at something freaky and tentacly. Ah, this feels nice. This feels like getting back to my roots talking about weird sea creatures. You know how much I love the Megalodon. A research crew comprised of marine biologists spotted the strange creature while on board the EV Nautilus, a research vessel used by the Ocean Exploration Trust, a non-profit that conducts deep sea research. While they were down there, they captured footage of a gigantic, bizarre tentacled sea creature swimming around the depths, and researchers have yet to be able to correctly identify it, leaving them to wonder if perhaps this is the discovery of a new species entirely. Luckily, they caught footage of this weird little thing so we can all enjoy it. The creature has a bunch of tentacles extending 16 inches from nearly 7-foot long stalk, and a single polyp with barbed tentacles cupping the polyp like spiky petals. The creature kind of looks like a bizarre, angry, spiky flower flowing through the water more than it does any other marine life I can think of. I'm pretty sure I saw this thing swimming around in the corner in one of the 800 scenes about swimming in Avatar 2. This nasty little thing was found 8,000 meters beneath the surface, where all the truly terrifying life starts to form and Mother Nature gets really creative in a Jackson Pollock kind of way. The expedition's lead researcher, one Steve Auskovich, and a deep sea biologist, described the sighting as fascinating, and I'd describe it as horrifying, but hey, we each do our own thing. From time to time, we come across something that we never expected to see, and those are often the most powerful observations. Look, I'll stop you right there, man. That sounds way too much like Jurassic Park dialogue for me to feel 100% comfortable. I'll stay where I am. You stay where you are. We'll stay in each other's lanes. Number 3, the Nightwalker. Coming up next is a mysterious figure that was recorded on security camera footage from Moorhead, Kentucky. That's in the US if you didn't know. Brought to us by trusted name in paranormal news, Paranormality Magazine. The video got a ton of attention, garnering 500,000 views or so, and you can see why. It shows this wretched, pale, hunched over creature running around what looks like a downtown parking lot. What's really creepy about this whole thing is trying to figure out how big it is, you know? It's hunched over, which doesn't make it any easier, but you try and compare it to the car in the video and you can kind of see that it looks like it only comes up to the trunk. Is it a goblin? A gnome? Is this another freed house elf? Has there been a resurgence in freed elves? You can't even make out what the creature's face looks like or if it has any facial features at all, to be honest. Like most good supernatural videos, the camera quality is very choppy. If you've got a keen eye, you probably noticed it's not a rip of the security camera proper, but rather someone recording a monitor. So it's a video recording of a recording, and you're watching a recording of a recording of a recording, so it's not the most crystal clear. Some commenters on the video are not nearly as convinced as me, your host who is easily and immediately convinced by everything he sees. Some have suggested that it could just be somebody in a morph suit, it could just be some youngsters having a bit of fun, but hey, I listen to those and I offer you, it could also very well be a demon sneaking around a parking lot. We listen to all sides, and we take them very seriously here at Top 5 Scary. Number 2, Pale Walker. Coming up next is a clip out of India that went viral last year and captured the attention of paranormal enthusiasts, alien hunters, and skeptics alike. It's really nice when you can get everyone in the community together like that. In this video, a strange, pale humanoid-like figure was spotted walking across the road in India, baffling the heck out of just about everybody who saw it. Whatever it was filmed walking alone steadily on a bridge at night in Yarkand in eastern India, staggering through the night. The thing resembles a human enough, and that's what my brain tells me it is, that's what Occam's razor suggests it should be. But the more you look at it, the more you start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this might be something else. The creature is gangly, and it has these long arms and long legs, pale white skin, and a very skinny torso. Gosh, imagine having a skinny torso, being very pale, having very long arms, and gangly. Could not imagine what that's like. Could not imagine what that's like at all. It looks a great deal more like a monster out of Silent Hill 2 than it does a person. Motorcyclists in the video are swerving out of the way of the figure, which stops and stares at them for a bit before continuing to stroll onwards like it ain't no thing. Naturally, this got more people talking and wondering as to just what this thing could possibly be. More than a few people suggested that it could be an alien walking around the streets at night, explaining why it seems so confused about where it is. Some commenter even suggested that if you watch the sky, there's some lights up there. I don't know, I didn't see the video enough times. Others even suggested the possibility of it being a ghost, which would be pretty spooky. I'm always open to something turning out to be a ghost. I love a ghost. It does seem like it's interacting with the physical plane though, and those motorcyclists are trying to swerve out of it, so I'm not 100% on that. And finally, there's the realists, who I guess we have to listen to sometimes, who suggested that this could just be someone who had a long night and is lost, possibly on 1, 2, or all of the substances, staggering home trying to get a good night's sleep. Now, as far as I know, no one ever cracked this case, so hey, we may never have a satisfying answer to this. I think this thing should get in contact with the weird little creatures from Point 5 and Point 3, and maybe they can form a weird little pale creatures caught on CCTV footage union. I like this one too. Let me know down below what you think of this. I want to hear everybody's opinions. Number 1, the Chupacabra. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot is going to be my beloved Chupacabra. Oh, do I love the Chupacabra. It's probably one of my favorite cryptids. If I've ever said another cryptid was my favorite before on this channel, I am now officially retconning it that I have always been saying Chupacabra. I love that in the world of cryptids, you got cool things like Mothman or the Flatwoods Monster that might be an alien, and then the Chupacabra is just like a weird dog. Sometimes it's a goblin, but most descriptions of the Chupacabra just make it out to be like kind of an angry big dog. Well, take a look at this footage of a big, angry, freaky, mangy mutt that's got people clutching their pearls and locking up the livestock. Recently captured footage out of Argentina shows a bizarre looking creature that almost resembles like a mix of a horse and a dog wandering the streets, and it had people scared. Like, it looks like a dog for sure, but an absolutely massive sized one, like bigger than me. I'm talking like Marmaduke size, as hard as that is to imagine. This strange creature was said to have savagely attacked at 2 dogs, fatally injuring a pit bull and a German shepherd, so whatever it is, we know it is angry. Chupacabras typically tend to stick to goats as their favorite prey. I mean, their name almost literally translates to goat sucker, and when you learn that about them, they become infinitely less scary. The clip was fairly popular, garnering nearly 400,000 views on YouTube, and if you ask me, it definitely looks like a Chupacabra to me. The Chupacabra is one that, I don't know, every couple years something will come out about it. Someone will discover a weird dog and get a video of it, and most time it just ends up being a coyote missing fur with mange or something, but hey, goats keep going missing, keep showing up sucked out of all their blood, so maybe there really are Chupacabras hiding out there, or maybe I just need to believe that they exist.
Number 5 on this list is the Reversed Demon. This demon clearly took some gymnastic classes when they were alive as a person, because they're definitely flexing their flexibility muscles now in the demon afterlife. The clips that I'm about to show you were posted to the YouTube channel Kisa Weba. They were captured by a security camera and show a demon slowly crawling across the ground. So as we can see, that demon is just slowly meandering along, minding its own business. Now, you may think that this is the end of the story, but it's actually not, because that thing was caught on another security camera in the area a little bit later. Let's take a look at that. Now what on God's green earth is that freaking thing? I mean, it has to be a demon, right? Like, what the hell? Its face is clearly all white, completely inhuman. And now that we can fully see the way that it walks, we get a clear sense of how demonic it actually is. I think the biggest question that comes up through all of this, though, is what is it doing and where's it going? Fingers crossed that whatever it was doing doesn't concern any one of us. Number 4 on this list is Cubish Square. Back in 2015, a video was uploaded to YouTube from an account named Demon Operator. The video is only 50 seconds long and shows someone getting chased by a demon or monster in Cubish Square. Let's roll 30 seconds of that clip and see what you guys think about this demon. So the man gets into the park, and just to the left of him is this completely demonic looking spider creature. It's slow out of the gate, but then it starts coming after him. The final 10 seconds of the video is going to show this thing get really close to him and then spit what looks to be some green toxic fluid out at him. Let's roll that now. So yeah, let's put it this way. Whatever this thing was, it definitely isn't human or any sort of animal that we're aware of. Now, can I say for sure that it's a demon? No, I can't, but I can say that it definitely looks very dangerous. Watch your back, everybody. This thing came after this dude in broad daylight in the park. Number 3 on this list is the scariest video that you'll ever watch. That's actually what the YouTubers Mindseed TV titled this video that they posted roughly about a year ago. In this video, several guys are on a ghost hunt late at night in a haunted home. The whole video is roughly 40 minutes long and they capture a ton of cool stuff. One of the scariest parts of this entire video, though, is what I'm about to show. Did you guys see it? It was pretty fast, so I understand if you didn't. From behind the bushes of this man's home, there was a creature that looked very far from being human. Let's get a closer look at this thing, and you guys feel free to comment down below what the heck you think this thing is. So seriously, what the heck is that? It almost looks like it has some underwater qualities, but like, obviously that doesn't make any sense at all. I personally think this is a demon of some kind, but what it wants with this man and where it came from, these are all questions that we may not be getting answers to anytime soon. And finally, number 1 on this list is the hallway demon. This next video was posted back at the end of 2020 and shows somebody getting into a very close encounter with what looks to be a dangerous demon. Yeah, so if that's me, I am getting the hell out of there, folks. I don't care what I think I know about demons or how many freaking boxing classes I've taken in the past. I am not sticking around to see how I'd fare against something like that. Also, let's face it though, the person filming was going through a totally abandoned building that had rumors of a haunting. They pretty much knew what they were getting into with this one. Still though, very scary nonetheless. Number 5 on this list is the Cemetery Baby Demon. This photo clearly shows the apparition of a young child with jet black eyes floating over top of a gravestone. Stephen Wagner writes, "A woman named Mrs. Andrews was visiting the grave of her daughter in a cemetery in Queensland, Australia in 1946. Her daughter Joyce had died about a year earlier in 1945 at the age of 17. Mrs. Andrews saw nothing unusual when she took this photo of Joyce's grave marker. When the film was developed, Mrs. Andrews was astonished to see the image of a small child sitting happily at her daughter's grave. The ghost child seems to be aware of Mrs. Andrews since he or she is looking directly into the camera. Is it possibly a double exposure? Mrs. Andrews said there was no such children nearby when she took the photograph and moreover didn't recognize the child at all. It was no one she would have taken a picture of. She remarked that she didn't believe it was the ghost of her daughter as a child." Investigating this case, Australian paranormal researcher Tony Healy visited the cemetery in the late 1990s. Near Joyce's grave, he found the graves of 2 infant girls. So Wagner brings up the possibility of double exposure there, and that's a really common explanation for what could cause such an image. A double exposure is a combination of 2 images into one where one image is overlaid onto another at less than full opacity. This is done with artistic intent unless you're shooting film and forgot to wind it in between shots, but still you might get a happy accident. So it's possible that double exposure could be at play here if she forgot to wind the film, but then she would have had to take a picture of a young girl who looked like this in the first place. She claimed that she never did that, and also even if she did, that still wouldn't explain the eyes. Jet black eyes and looking about as close as possessed as they can be, this child certainly has some demon characteristics. Number 4 on this list is the Railroad Demon. Wagner once again writes, "A strange legend surrounds a railroad crossing just south of San Antonio, Texas. The intersection of roadway and railroad tracks, so the story goes, was the site of a tragic accident in which several school-aged children were killed, but their ghosts linger at the spot and will push idled cars across the tracks even though the path is uphill. This story may be just the stuff of urban legend, but the accounts were intriguing enough that an article about the phenomenon, the haunted railroad crossing, was written. The article included a photograph submitted by Andy and Debbie Chesney. Their daughter and some of her friends had recently been to the crossing to test the legend, and she took some photographs. Inexplicably, a strange, transparent figure turned up in one of the photos. They had no idea that it was in the picture until the next day when I printed out the photo and showed them," said the Chesneys. "It was really freaky. It appears to be a little girl carrying a teddy bear. Other readers who have viewed the photo think it shows a little girl with a dog sitting at her feet. Now, I don't like to classify demons as ghosts and ghosts as demons because they're certainly different. But even if what's going on here is due to a ghostly presence, then said ghostly presence certainly has demonic qualities. To be able to physically push a car and then also do it with the intention of killing those inside or killing those on the train, that's extremely evil, guys. I looked into the legend into San Antonio to see what had actually happened there, and it was really tragic. Back in the 1930s, a school bus full of children stalled on the tracks right before a train was scheduled to come. They raced to get off the bus, but not all of them made it, and 10 children lost their lives that day in the horrible accident. The more I looked into it though, the more I found that most people's experiences with these children have actually been good and not demon-like. That if you park your car on the tracks and leave it in neutral, they'll actually push it off the tracks to safety. All of this could be just one big hoax, but a picture like that goes a long way in validating the legend. Number 3 on this list is the Backseat Demon. Ever get the feeling when you're in a car that you aren't alone or somebody's watching you? Well, if you do, then you may have cause to be a little scared based on this photo. In 1959, a woman named Mabel Chinnery and her husband were visiting the grave of Mabel's mother. Whilst they were there, Mabel pulled out her camera and snapped a photo of her husband in the front seat of their car by himself. Except, when the film was developed, it's clear that he wasn't by himself. In the backseat of the car, you can see that there's some sort of humanoid creature right behind him. It's very dark and hard to make out, but apparently Mabel knew exactly what it was. To her, the being in the back looks identical to her mother, the person whose grave they were visiting that day. This picture was taken to an expert and they concluded that it was not double exposure and the picture hadn't been tampered with. This has led most people to believe that the only real explanation for this photo is something supernatural. Number 2 on this list is the Watertown Hall Demon. Back in 1995 in Shropshire, England, Watertown Hall, an old building built in 1905, burned to the ground. Locals gathered and watched as the fire department tried to save the building, but alas, it was no use and it did eventually burn down. During the blaze, some of these bystanders took some photos of what was going on, and one of them, when it was later developed, started quite the controversy. As you can see in this picture, there's very clearly a girl standing behind some bars in the building. Now, before we go any further, I want to say that this isn't a living person in danger because from my research, nobody actually got hurt in this fire. The thing is though that if this wasn't a living person, then who the heck is it? Well, the legend says that this apparition is that of a girl named Jane Churm. Jane Churm was a young girl who lived back in the 1600s but died in a tragic fire. This fire took place in the town of Wem and it was actually said to be started by Jane herself. Now back then in the 1600s, the fire was started by accident, but that might not have been the case for the one in 1995. Lots of people think that Jane actually started this fire and that the picture shows her ghost or a demonic version of her watching her work. It should also be noted that Dr. Vernon Harrison, an expert in photography, studied this photo and concluded that it was a genuine photograph. Pretty spooky stuff if you ask me. And finally, number 1 on this list is the Tulip Staircase Demon. This one is scary for a number of different reasons. Stephen Wagner says, Reverend Rolf Hardy, a retired clergyman from White Rock, British Columbia, took this now famous photograph in 1966. He intended merely to photograph the elegant spiral staircase known as the Tulip Staircase in the Queen's House section of the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich, England. Upon development, however, the photo revealed a shrouded figure climbing the stairs, seeming to hold the railing with both hands. Experts, including some from Kodak, who examined the original negative, concluded that it had not been tampered with. It's been said that unexplained figures have been seen on occasion in the vicinity of the staircase, and unexplained footsteps have also been heard. This photo isn't the only evidence of ghostly activity at the Queen's House either. The 400-year-old building is credited with several other apparitions and phantom footsteps even today. A few years ago, a gallery assistant was discussing a tea break with 2 colleagues when he saw one of the doors to the bridge room close by itself. At first, he thought it was one of the lecturers. Other ghostly incidents include the unexplained choral chanting of children, the figure of a pale woman frantically mopping blood at the bottom of the Tulip Staircase, slamming doors, and even tourists being pinched by unseen fingers. So very clearly this place is deeply haunted, guys. I think arguments could be made that there are ghosts, demons, maybe even creatures all chilling at this one spot. Whenever we capture a photograph like this, and it's literally of a place that already has a legend surrounding it, I think that that really adds to its legitimacy. People had been saying for years that something was up here, and then there was finally some proof when this picture was taken. Also, the fact that it's been proven to be genuine makes it pretty hard to explain. Number 5 on this list is a dark-winged demon. This picture was posted by Richard Christensen on his Facebook account several years ago in 2017. On the post, he commented asking, "What the hell do you see in this picture for reals? Anybody?" The internet immediately exploded with responses, and the post was shared thousands and thousands of times. Various explanations from people emerged in the comments. The common explanation is that the picture was doctored and that Richard had photoshopped the picture to create the outline of what looks to be something demonic and evil. Richard claimed that this wasn't the case though, and that it was an authentic photograph. Another excuse was just poor lighting, and that's what created this demon-shaped shadow. But frankly, I don't see how lighting could be responsible for this though. That is a very specific outline, and I have no idea how some poor lighting could make such a distinguished shadow like that. One other person actually suggested that it was just the outline of a palm tree, but I've never seen any palm trees that look like that before, so I'm gonna rule that one out too. Now, this whole time I've been assuming that this creature in the photo is inherently evil, but for all we know, that could also be an angel. Angels have wings too, and considering we can't make out its distinct features, it could be possible that that's the case here. However, there's also something very intimidating and imposing with the way that creature is standing and holding itself. It certainly doesn't look safe and reassuring like an angel might. No, it looks far more demonic than anything else. What it's doing in a suburban area of Phoenix, Arizona is anyone's guess, but whatever it is would be something that I'd be avoiding at all costs. Honestly surprised that Richard even managed to capture a photo at all. If that was me, then I'd be hightailing it out of there. Number 4 on this list is the SS Watertown Ghosts. This is a famous picture captured on film from 1924 that seems to depict 2 demons or 2 ghosts on it. Trust Yourself writes, Seaman James Courtney and Michael Meehan were assigned to clean out a cargo tank. While they were doing this, they were overcome by gas fumes and died before help could reach them. Following the tradition of the sea, their bodies were committed to the ocean on December 4th. The following day, just before dusk, the entire ship was in uproar when the heads of the 2 dead seamen were clearly seen on board the ship and later in the sea. Thereafter, the ghost faces were frequently seen. A snapshot was taken and the camera, with film intact and untouched inside, was handed to Captain Keith Tracy for safekeeping. The sightings of these faces kept being seen years after the photo was taken, but slowly as time went on, they became less and less frequent. The film was produced long after the sightings actually happened, but as you can clearly see, there are 2 very demonic looking faces in the picture. Their faces look distorted and honestly as if they're coming straight out of hell. Their eyeballs are missing and their mouths kind of look like black holes. I have no idea how they would have staged such a photo if potentially you think that could be an explanation for this. No one's been able to explain this picture to date, and without any new information, it's probably going to stay that way. Number 3 on this list is the Spectre of Newbie Church. The Spectre of Newbie Church is definitely one of the most well-known ghostly photos in human history. This one is scary as all holy hell and would honestly warrant a serious call to some Ghostbusters if I was running said church. The picture is taken in the Church of Christ the Consoler, which is found in North Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. The image was captured by Reverend Kenneth F. Lord in 1963 and showcases one of the scariest demons there is. The demon in the photo resembles a doctor during the plague with the long-beaked mask on and the dark black robes. One could also make the argument that this apparition also resembles death itself though, which is a pretty terrifying thought. Now, some people have chalked the photo up to a simple double exposure error from the camera, but Reverend Kenneth F. Lord truly believes that there was some kind of demonic spirit present when he took the photo. Some skeptics have come back and bashed the Reverend, saying that this photo had to have been doctored and that he must have had his friend step in and act as the figure. But once again, he swears it isn't the case. I suppose that I could see the double exposure thing, like it's possible that that might be the reason, but I definitely don't believe that the Reverend would purposely doctor the photo. Why on earth would he want to start a legend that his own church is haunted by a demon? It just doesn't make any sense. In circles that believe in paranormal activity and demons, this picture is still getting talked about as being potential proof of their existence. I'm not personally convinced that it's conclusive evidence, but I also don't think that we can write it off either. Number 2 on this list is the Cooper photograph. The Cooper photograph is one of the most famous pictures with a demonic creature that simply can't be explained. I actually probably shouldn't say demonic creature because we don't know for sure, but the photo definitely captures something paranormal in it. In the mid-1950s, the Cooper family purchased a home in Texas. This home had been there for quite some time and had a deep history to it. On the first evening that the family was moved in, Mr. Cooper had his wife, mother, and 2 children positioned in the kitchen for a photograph to commemorate the first night in their new home. The family was happy and all smiling, but that's just because nobody had any idea what was lurking behind them. Time passed and the family was happy in their new home. Then after a few weeks living there, when Mr. Cooper's film had filled up, he took it to the local pharmacy to get it developed. Then he came back a week later and discovered one of the creepiest pictures in history. In the entire left half of the photo, it looks as if a person is suspended in midair upside down. They look like they're hanging from the ceiling as if some higher power was holding them from their legs. The face is totally blurred out and just looks dark and eerie. If I didn't know any better, then I'd say the family hoisted a dead body up there and took the picture while it was hanging from the ceiling. Mr. Cooper and everyone in that photo swears that they never saw anything and were totally alone in that room. So what is this ghostly or demonic apparition that decided to visit them on their first move-in? Is it possible that the camera roll just messed up or the film got corrupted? Honestly, maybe, but how does the film get corrupted in such a way that it's in the exact form of someone's body hanging from the ceiling? Maybe they just happened to move into a home inhabited by the ghost of a gymnast and caught a mid-routine. This picture's probably one that we're never gonna fully know the answer to. Number 1 on this list is the Brown Lady. The Brown Lady is the ghost that haunts Rainman Hall in England. It's one of the most famous hauntings in the country due to this image that was captured of her back in 1936. Wikipedia writes, according to legend, the Brown Lady of Rainman Hall is the ghost of Lady Dorothy Walpole, the sister of Robert Walpole, generally regarded as the first Prime Minister of Great Britain. She was the second wife of Charles Townshend, who was notorious for his violent temper. The story says that when Townshend discovered that his wife had committed adultery with Lord Wharton, he punished her by locking her in her rooms in the family home, Rainman Hall. According to Mary Wortley Montagu, Dorothy was in fact entrapped by the Countess of Wharton. She invited Dorothy over to stay for a few days, knowing that her husband would never allow her to leave, not even to see her children. She remained at Rainman Hall until her death in 1726 from smallpox. The first sighting of this ghost was roughly 100 years later in 1835 by Lucia C. Stone. She said that the ghost had empty eye sockets and her blank face glowed. These legends continued as the years passed until this photo was released and everybody lost their minds. Once again, the excuse of double exposure has been thrown around as a possible reason, but many people who were there believe it to be real. Corrupt film might make sense for a photo that doesn't have a legend already circulating around it, but it feels like too crazy of a coincidence to have had ghostly sightings for over a century and then also a picture in that exact spot have double exposure happen to it. Especially when the ghost or demon that appears in the photo looks identical to the descriptions people have reported over the years of Lady Dorothy Walpole. Comment down below what you guys think about this picture. I personally tend to believe this one a bit more than some of the other ones on this list, but I want to hear your thoughts. Number 5 on this list is the Farm Demon. Most of the time we look at these photos and they're typically pretty old, captured 100 years ago and often chalked up as being a double exposure error or something like that. I don't think that can be said for the Farm Demon though. Stephen Wagner writes, this amazing photo was taken by photographer and graphic designer Neil Sandbach in 2008. Neil was photographing some scenic shots at a farm in England as part of a project for wedding stationery. The couple planned to have their wedding ceremony held there later. Neil was astonished when he examined the digital photo on his computer. There, as if peeking around a corner at him, is a ghostly white, almost glowing figure of what looks like a child. Neil says he's quite sure that there was no one there at the time. There's further corroboration that this is a true ghost photo. Neil had shown the couple the anomalous photo, and before the wedding they asked the staff at the farm if they'd ever seen any spooky experiences there before. They didn't mention Neil's photo. Indeed, they admitted that the figure of a young boy dressed in white night clothes had been seen on several occasions around around the barn. So it looks as if this barn is haunted by some type of demon child, and Neil just happened to get lucky enough and capture it on camera. I think what's really scary about this though is that they had no idea it was there while they were staying at the farm, meaning that this demon child would have been stalking Neil the whole time. And what's even crazier than that is that this couple literally continued with the wedding. Like, scenery and all that quaint stuff is important, but a demon child running around the grounds? That's definitely a no-go wedding spot for me. Number 4 on this list is the demon pilot. In 1987, Mrs. Sayer and some of her closest friends were visiting Fleet Air Arms Station at Yeovilton, Somerset in England. As is customary with places that have a bunch of airplanes, you gotta take a photo of you inside of one as if you're flying it. Mrs. Sayer hopped into a helicopter that had been out of commission for a while, and she got her friends to take a snap of her while she was in it. The picture that came out was not what Mrs. Sayer or any of her pals expected though. When they took a look at the photo a while later, they saw what is a very clear image of a pilot sitting next to her. Actually, claiming that it's a pilot is a bit of a stretch. In truth, it's just a figure with a white shirt on that looks like a man. What this thing's connection to Mrs. Sayer or to the helicopter is anyone's guess. Apparently, when that photo was being taken, even though Mrs. Sayer had a bright smile on her face, she wasn't feeling so hot. In fact, she was feeling rather scared and anxious. She had no idea why at the time, and it was a passing feeling that went away after a few minutes, but just an overwhelming feeling of anxiety while she was there. To this day, nobody knows what this apparition is, what it's doing there, or what could have caused it to appear. Number 3 on this list is the Pink Lady. In Greencastle, Indiana, there's a massive mansion called the O'Hara Mansion. The pictures in question are by a man named Guy Winters who was investigating said mansion several years ago. This mansion is abandoned and has been for some time, and the locals like to keep it that way. Apparently, they have believed for quite some time that some sort of demonic entity lives there and watches over the grounds. It's thought that trespassing on them could endanger your life. This didn't deter Guy Winters and his friend Terry, who wanted to find out for themselves if there really was some sort of evil presence here. They went into the mansion and stayed there for several days and nights with cameras documenting everything. What they found was the Pink Lady, a vaporous pink demon that Guy Winters was able to snap on photograph. Apparently, as is with most of this demon photography, Guy didn't actually see the apparition in real life, but it was only noticed after the picture was developed. This apparition definitely looks like something evil if you ask me. It almost looks like a demon witch, if that's even a thing, but certainly something that has the intention of possessing you or consuming your soul. This picture went along with a bunch of weird occurrences at this place too. Apparently the two boys were perpetually on edge and kept having strange things happen to them. Things would move without them touching them, the temperature in the rooms would change drastically. They both talked about having a voice in their head that they weren't familiar with, something that had them starting to become convinced that they were losing their minds. They might not have known it at the time, but it seems like all of these things can be chalked up to the work of the Pink Lady. Number 2 on this list is the White Lady of Worstead Church. Similarly to our Pink Lady that we mentioned earlier, we have another vaporous demon ghost thing resembling that of a woman. In 1975, Diane and Peter Berthelot visited the Worstead Church in North Norfolk. Peter snapped a pic of his wife praying on one of the church benches. They didn't think anything about the photo at the time, just a cute day at the church, but months later, when they went to go get the film developed, one of their friends saw the photo and asked, "Who's that sitting behind you?" Behind Mrs. Berthelot is what looked to be the apparition of a woman wearing old clothes that were pretty much all white. This was obviously really spooky to the couple since they didn't remember anyone like that sitting behind her when they took the picture. They went back to Worstead Church the next summer and showed it to the Reverend. Apparently, this church for years now has been riddled by the spirit of the White Lady. It's said that this ghost demon is a healer who appears when someone near is in need of healing. When she visited the church at the time of the photo, Diane was in ill health and was taking antibiotics. Now, even though this ghost being is a healer, it can also curse you too. According to one story, on Christmas Eve in 1830, a man boasted a challenge to the White Lady. He said he would climb to the top of the church's belfry and kiss her if she would appear. So, up he went. Hours went by and his friends got worried though. They went up to go search for him and they found him in the belfry, cowering in a corner, terrified. "I've seen her," he told them. "I've seen her." And then he died. The demon or ghost or whatever it is clearly capable of totally stunning you out of sheer fright. I personally can't imagine the feeling of literally dying out of fear, but that's what happened here, and it proves that this ghost, if that is what it is, has demonic qualities to it. Now this church has been turned into a pub, believe it or not, but this presence still lingers. I'm all for getting a brew with the lads, but not at the expense of getting totally shell-shocked like that. Number 1 on this list is the Coventry Demon. Stephen Wagner writes, on January 22nd, 1985, the Coventry Freeman organization were having a dinner event at St. Mary's Guildhall in Coventry, UK. Everyone in the group had her or his head bowed in prayer when this photo was taken, including a towering mysterious figure standing top left. The strange cowled spectre appears to be wearing clothes much like a monk frock from another time. Lord Mayor Walter Brandish, who was present at the dinner, said that there was no one at the event who was dressed like that, and he could not explain the presence of the interloper in the photo. St. Mary's Guildhall dates back to the 14th century and served as a prison for Mary, Queen of Scots. So as you guys can see, this creature doesn't look like anything human. I know that it resembles something like a monk, as Wagner was saying, but I also think that there's an argument that could be made that it resembles something from the underworld as well. The robes that it's wearing, coupled with the shape of its body, also coupled with the fact that no one actually saw this thing in person at all, kind of leads me to think that there must be something demonic about it. Also, the face doesn't look human at all. It's all black and those eyes don't look like human eyes. I have no idea why a demonic monk-looking creature would show up at this dinner event, but I also don't have any other explanation for why this thing popped up in the photo to begin with. Toss a comment down below if you have any theories on what this thing is or what it could be doing there in the first place. Number 5 on this list is Lord Combermere, or maybe better put as the ghost of Lord Combermere. The picture that we're going to look at today depicts the ghostly silhouette of the late Lord Combermere sitting in his chair. Insider writes, amateur photographer Corbet allegedly set up her camera and took this hour-long exposure while the funeral of her brother-in-law, Lord Combermere, was taking place 4 miles from the home. Interestingly, the apparition that appears to be sitting in the deceased Lord Combermere's chair is suggested to be Lord Combermere himself. I think the scariest part about this photograph is the timing. The fact that this was apparently captured literally right when the funeral for this man was being held. It's very possible that his spirit could have still been in and around the area and wasn't quite ready to leave the world of the living yet. Ghost Story UK says, it's thought by some that during that time a servant might have come into the room and sat briefly in the chair, creating the transparent image. This idea was refuted by members of the household, all testifying that they were all attending Lord Combermere's funeral. Sir William Barrett, who investigated the case and reported on it in the Journal of the Society for Physical Research, was not satisfied. Working on the theory that a manservant may have come in and seated himself in the chair, he took a test photograph and got a picture that was almost a duplicate of the Combermere photograph. The matter seemed ended, but as he told in his book On the Threshold of the Unseen in 1918, sometime later he received a letter from Lord Combermere's daughter-in-law about the photograph. She said that the face was always too indistinct to be quite convincing to me, though some of his children had no doubt at all of the identity. I may add, none of the manservants in the house closely resembled the figure and were all young men who were all attending the funeral. No one resembled him and everyone was out of the house when this photo was taken. For years the church and others have tried to explain this photograph, but they just simply can't. Maybe it was the ghost of Lord Combermere, or maybe it was a demon playing a trick on all of us. We may never know. Number 4 on this list is Freddy Jackson. In this photo, we're going to be looking at Sir Victor Goddard's Royal Air Force Squadron. This picture was taken in 1919 after World War I and showed a bunch of young strapping pilots. What's wild about this though is the unexpected visitor that we have in the back row. If we zoom into the top row and look at the man fourth from the left, we can see something over his right shoulder. An apparition of sorts that resembles a human face. After people started taking note of this and examined it, those who had worked with the squadron identified that face as Freddy Jackson. Freddy Jackson was a mechanic with this squadron for a while, but the crazy part is that he had died in a propeller accident several days earlier. Similarly to Lord Combermere, the day that this picture was taken was the day of his funeral. Maybe his ghost showed up because he was pissed all his friends were taking pictures and not paying their respects. But seriously though, how on earth do you explain a photo like that with tons of other people in it? It's impossible for it to have been staged, and it's clear that there's something there. Hopefully Freddy was able to find peace after his impromptu photo bomb. Number 3 on this list is the Couple's Demon. William Hope was a paranormal investigator who lived from 1863 to 1933. During that time, he was responsible for capturing a wide array of spiritual photographs which showcase ghosts and demons. Now, after evaluating some of his work, I think it's fair to assume that some of it is doctored. I'm not sure how one man would have been able to capture capture all the demonic pictures that he did without potentially faking a few. That being said though, I don't think that everything he's done has been doctored, and I imagine that there are some with serious legitimacy to them. One of his most famous is of an older couple with what clearly looks to be a demon standing behind them. When they took this photo, nobody was physically there, and they could only capture this devilish creature when they looked at the film after the fact. Some other entries on this list, I mean, you might be able to classify as a ghost, but this is 100% a demon. The eyes are black and unforgiving, and it looks as if you're getting sucked into a black hole of nothingness. You can't make out this creature's lower body at all, and she's just all black. She reminds me a lot of a few urban legends of female demons appearing around the world. Their stories differ, but there are some commonalities between them all. Usually a woman appears like this to a stranger, asks them a few questions, and if they don't answer properly, will drag them to hell. I'm actually surprised that the people in this photograph managed to get out of it safely without feeling her presence or being attacked while they were there. I'm pretty sure that the church can explain this one, they just probably won't like the explanation very much. Number 2 on this list is the lady in the lift. Whenever you step into an elevator, it feels as if you've stepped into a portal of some kind. If you really think about it, it kind of is a portal considering you start on one floor and then finish on a different one. Now obviously there isn't anything magical about said elevators, and this portal of sorts is really just a mechanical innovation that takes you up and down tall buildings. That being said, this non-paranormal portal definition might not apply to the elevator in this photo. As we can see, there are a few people hanging out and chatting by the elevators. This was a picture captured by a doctor in a hospital in Bolivia. The elevator in the right of the image decided to open all by itself though. The group didn't think anything of it at the time, but when they looked back, noticed something fairly unsettling. The apparition of a woman is clearly standing in the elevator, staring right at them. No one knows who this woman is, but it's clear that she's either a ghost or a demon. Elevators have always seemed to have a connection to ghostly apparitions for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they do give off the sensation of being a portal, but there are a lot of stories connected to elevators and hauntings. This photo actually reminds me a lot of a haunted place in Austria. A young girl was at a university residence during Christmas. She was pretty much the only one who stayed there and didn't go home for the holidays. While she was there by herself, she accidentally stepped into the elevator shaft and fell to her death. Now she's set to haunt that elevator and torment those who step inside. Maybe this photo is of a similar story, but just at the hospital. It's impossible to say for sure, but either way guys, I'd be taking the stairs. And finally, number 1 on this list is the little boy. This photo is extremely scary and just flat out disturbing. BuzzFeed writes, the Reddit user who posted this image was deeply skeptical that there was anything paranormal going on, although they couldn't deny there is something chilling about the figure of a little boy staring out from the ruins of an old school. I grew up in a small rural town in between mountains. A couple years ago they were tearing down an old elementary school. A guy my mom knew went in and took pics with his cell phone. When he uploaded them, this was one of the pics. I don't believe in stuff like this at all. I just really don't know how to explain it since it was a cell phone pic, and I'm pretty sure that no one in my podunk hometown knows how to make fake pics. So maybe he doesn't know how, but I know how to explain it. You're in the ruins of an old school, and those ruins are haunted by the demon of a young boy. Sometimes the simplest answers are the right ones, and this to me looks like an example of that. This little dude 100% looks possessed, and you can't even really make out his legs. Nor can you actually see his arms either for that matter. Kind of difficult to make up a logical explanation for a kid with no arms and no legs floating in the middle of an abandoned school. Also, side note, but can you imagine being the one to take this picture? Like you turn a corner and you see that dude and your first thought is, I'm gonna pull out my phone and take a picture of this kid. Like if that's me, I am straight up running out of that thing and we're burning that building hot.
Number 5, the ghost. Coming up first today in our list of real, scary, demonic footage from the beautiful country of India is this particularly threatening video that's been making the rounds online, which, if you believe some commenters, may have proof of ghostly life on it. Or unlife? Is that more correct? Anyway, let's roll the clip and let's take ourselves a look. This white-clad ghost was caught walking on the rooftops of Varanasi in the VDA colony located in the Badi Gabi area. Now in this video you can see a shadow walking on the rooftop of a house and that pale, ethereal, ghostly figure seemingly blowing in the breeze. Now, when the video was shared, it went viral quickly on Twitter, causing a small panic amongst local residents who demanded that there was a formal investigation made by police. Do you guys not know? Have you guys not heard? Has this not reached you? That is not the team you're supposed to call when there's something strange in the neighborhood. You call the Ghostbusters. They have a whole song about it. Now, of course, not everyone bought immediately that this mysterious figure was a ghost. More than a few commenters on the original video suggested that it was just someone hanging their laundry out to dry, and the video was little more than all of us letting our imaginations run wild. I gotta be honest though, if it was late at night and I was on the rooftops of India, I think I would definitely be freaked out seeing this, because it does look like a ghost, even if it does look an awful lot like a bedsheet or someone in a Charlie Brown ghost costume. Sure, it could be a human tendency to form anthropomorphic patterns and objects we don't quite recognize, but it's also entirely possible that it is a ghost. I tried to do some follow-up on this. I was trying to figure out if the local police ever did end up investigating this, but I really don't think they would have been much help. You can't really arrest a ghost. Their hands would slip right on through the handcuffs and you would look just ridiculous. How are you gonna keep a ghost in jail? It's gonna walk right through a wall. You can't arrest a ghost, is what I'm trying to get across. And if you're looking for more footage of ghosts that cannot be arrested, Top 5 Scary has all of that and then some. Oh, you better believe. If you can think it up, there's a good chance we've done 2 or 3 videos on it. Ghouls, goblins, aliens, conspiracies, megalodons, everything and more. So hit subscribe. Please make sure you ring that little bell as well so you don't miss a single one of our videos, but do that at the end of this video, okay? Because I got 4 more freaky things coming out of India to show you right about now. Number 4, the pale figure. Now coming up next is a clip, also out of India, believe it or not, you know they're all going to be out of India, that went viral last year and captured the attention of paranormal enthusiasts, alien hunters, and skeptics alike. It's nice when you get everyone together like that. We all get equally confused by what we're watching. A strange humanoid-like figure was spotted walking across the road in India, confusing just about everybody. Whatever it was filmed walking alone steadily on a bridge at night in Jharkhand in eastern India, staggering through the night. Now the thing resembles a human, that much is sure, and that's what my brain tells me it should be. But the more you look at it, the more you start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, it might be something else. The creature is real gangly and has these long arms and pale white skin and a very skinny torso, and sounds a bit like your host actually, if I'm being honest. It looks a great deal more like a Silent Hill monster than it does a person. Motorcyclists were swerving out of the way of the figure, which stops and stares at them a bit before continuing to stroll onwards. Now naturally, footage this weird has people talking and wondering as to just what the heck this thing could possibly be. More than a few people suggested it could be an alien walking around the streets at night, explaining why it seems so confused about where it is. Others suggested a ghost, which would definitely be pretty spooky. It seems like it's in the physical plane though, so I don't know if it's a ghost. Finally, there's the realists, who have suggested that this could just be someone who had a long night and is lost, trying to find their way home, possibly on 1, 2, all of the substances, trying to get a good night's sleep. Now, I did some digging. As far as I know, nobody cracked this case, so we may never have a satisfying answer. So that is your cue to speculate and sound off in my little comment box. Number 3, a UFO over India. Coming up next is this clip shared online with the caption, "A weird set of lights above New Delhi." Let's take a little look-see. So in this clip, pretty clearly we can see some strange happenings going on in the night sky. There's a scattering of lights above the city's horizon. Now immediately your first thought is probably to suggest that it might be drones, which is very reasonable. I feel like drones turn out to be a lot of UFO sightings. But the original poster states that drones really are not common for civilians in India at all and are even outright illegal in some parts of the country. And on top of that, the area that he's filming is said to be in the slums, where it is extra less likely that anybody's got any drones to spare. The video, when it was originally posted to Reddit, the poster added this for context. He said, "I saw this today around 8 p.m. in New Delhi with a friend. It was massive. This cannot be a building, as there is no tall building in that direction, only slums with a maximum height of 4 to 5 floors, but these lights looked as tall as the Burj Khalifa. There was a moderate wind going on, and I thought, if it's drones, why aren't they swaying? Not to forget, drones are illegal in India and especially in New Delhi. It looked massive in the sky. I wish the camera saw what my eyes could see because it absolutely blew me away. I've been to drone shows, but this looked nothing like it. Any idea what this could be? Now, some people in the comment section on the clip originally posted suggested that maybe this was a laser light show, but that was just speculation and nothing concrete. A particularly good selection that I enjoyed was that the original poster should have ran towards the lights to see what happens, you know, live a little. Worst case, yeah, you get abducted, but you would get the ride of a lifetime and an amazing story to tell people. Just live a little, you know? And if a UFO is not quite demonic enough for you, terribly sorry about that. Hopefully this next one will change your mind though. Number 2, the mutant goat. Coming in at the next spot, something a teeny tiny little bit different from others. I figured we'd take a small break from pale figures on CCTV and strange lights in the sky, and we'd show something we can all enjoy, you know, something that's fun for the whole family, really bringing everybody together. Mutant goats. On August 16th, a Facebook user named Samira Isa posted these footage of a strange goat that she had discovered. Now, I don't know about you, I already find a goat kind of strange. I think they're definitely one of the most demonic animals by nature. If you've ever heard a goat scream, you definitely know they've got some evil inside them, but this one is on another level. As you can see right away, this goat came out with a face looking a lot more like a human's than a goat. The creature's got a long jawline, a huge nose, and almost like elf ears. It is not hard at all to see why this thing was freaking people out. I think if I saw this writhing and moving in person, I would be running out of the room, grab myself a Bible, a rosary, and some holy water, see about exorcising this demon mutant ghost. Goat. Mutant ghost goat. As soon as the mutant goat was born, it started capturing people's attention, unsurprisingly. Some were afraid the creature was demonic in some way. Others worried the creature was a byproduct of some twisted scientific experimentation. Not 100% sure what the purpose of making a goat with a human face would be. I don't know the practical application of that, but I don't question the facts, I just blindly repeat them. Now, others wondered if this creature hybrid came about naturally, if this was a merging of a deer and a zebra, or a cow and a goat, or a dog and a goat. I don't really know about all that. I'm not a science man, I'm not a scholar, but I don't know if that works the way it does. It might just be a horrific birth mutation that caused this goat to come out serving evil, or could it be something significantly more sinister? Something supernatural we couldn't hope to explain hiding away in those hooves? I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to know. I'm fine with the human face goat and me living on different continents. And number 1, the mountain lion ghost. And in our final spot for today is going to be this ghost footage coming out of Dehradun, India, that's got the internet on fire and paranormal investigators gluing their eyes to the screen to try and figure out just what was caught on camera. This clip was originally posted to Reddit on the ghost subreddit, not to spoil too much, which allegedly is in this video, but allegedly it's a ghost. The original uploader claims that people often hear these spine-chilling cries and screams coming from the railway tracks at night when there's no one around, with locals claiming that the screams come from the restless spirit of the woman who died in a train accident in that place, crying out in agony for those doomed to hear. Let's roll that clip so we can put you on edge tonight. I want you sweating. You hear that? Hard not to. Sounds like a screech that goes right through your ears and sticks into your heart, causing your hairs to stand up so straight you could use them as a level. Now, not everyone is as convinced as your easily convinced host that this is proof of a ghost. There were more than a few commenters who suggested that this screech wasn't from a ghost, but rather from a mountain lion, which is kind of like a ghost if a ghost was an alive, really big cat. Now, I'm a young Canadian man. I've got lots of experience with cougars and mountain lions too, and it definitely does sound like a big cat's growl into the night. They definitely sound terrifying. I think this is a rare case in which the sound that's making the creepy noises that isn't a ghost is worse than if it was a ghost. I would rather be haunted than go toe-to-toe with a mountain lion personally. I know there's at least a chance I could survive fighting a ghost, like a little bit. Number 5, a gnome? Is a gnome a demon? I don't know. I find most gnomes benevolent, actually, but they could be. Our next clip looks like something out of the start of a low-budget horror movie, bit of an A24 vibe. I started watching this clip, and then as soon as it got going, I literally pressed my nose to my computer screen, so I hope you do the same. The clip was posted to the subreddit r/humanoid encounters. I definitely recommend it if you're into this sort of thing. There's a lot of really good humanoid encounters on there. And the poster explained that this has happened to their relatives, but they don't know what's going on. What we can see in the clip is bizarre. Someone is outside on their front porch, shining a light into the darkness, trying to find what is stalking them on their property. It can be a little hard to see, but behind the big rock, we see what looks like teeny tiny little hands peering out, trying not to be seen, playing a little game of know me, hide and seek. Now, it can be hard to make out what exactly is going on in this clip, but it almost seems too like there might be more than one of those little creepy crawlers wiggling around back there. Now, the original poster suggested that these creatures are indigenous folklore of little people, which I think this is pretty interesting. Is a myth that is almost ubiquitous across the globe. Pretty much every people's, Ireland, Greece, the Philippines, New Zealand, Indonesia, and so many more all have stories of gnomes or elves or little mischievous people creeping about in the night. I just find it interesting that the whole planet all has that myth. Are they all wrong, or are gnomes real? Now, to put on our Scully hat for a second, get a little dowdy, this could extremely easily be somebody playing along for a prank, or someone just hiding behind a rock playing with a doll, poking it out. The only evidence we have that this is a gnome is OP's word that they swear this is a close family member and they wouldn't do this sort of thing. And you can go through the YouTube channel, you see it's mostly just family videos, so that does make sense. So I toss it over to you, my beloved YouTube commenter gang. You guys keep me young. I love those comments. Little people creeping around, or is this just a tall tale? Oof. I spent all night working on that pun. And if you're looking for more videos of ghosts and goblins and gnomes with this guy talking over them, I've got lots of that for you on our channel. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Make sure you ring that bell so you doubly don't miss any of it. But if you really cared about me, no, I'm not saying you do. You do it at the end of this video so you can watch all the other demons caught on camera first, because I got 4 more coming. Number 4, Dogman. Coming up next is this clip that was making the rounds around the spookier sides of the internet of an Instagram user going live. The user was complaining that he'd seen something strange earlier in the day, referring to a Dogman that he thought he had seen. Now, that is different from a werewolf. A Dogman is a fairly popular cryptid that gets mentioned every now and again, kind of like a Goatman or a Mothman deal. It's like a bipedal wolf, but it's not a werewolf, okay? If you think it's a werewolf, that's a different thing. Anyway, this guy was talking on live and heard something strange outside and went to go check. Let's go with him and let's go watch the clip. Now we can roll it again if you didn't see it, but at around a minute into the clip, when the user going live hears something strange and goes in to check on what it was, we see something rush by, if only for a second, that does not look like it's from this world at all. Looks like a tall creature running by on its hind legs. And I know it does give off a werewolfy vibe. I get it. It looks like a werewolf. I get it. But it's a Dogman. It's totally different. I don't have the time to explain the difference, but a Dogman and a werewolf are totally different. Now here's the thing. Either this video is one of the best fakes I've ever seen, and I watch a ton of supernatural videos, so I like to think I got an eye for it. It's got a great budget and actor who really knows how to sell a scare, or this is something that actually happened to a real terrified guy. It being on Instagram Live gives it a little bit more credibility, you know? It's harder to fake things in camera on live. It doesn't really seem like someone in a costume, it just looks like it was a Dogman caught on camera. Okay, so realist, Scully mode, I don't know if I have one. Molder mode, that's a Dogman. That's a Dogman all the way down. Why don't you all let me know down below what we think is going on down there, and also if you have some insight on the werewolf Dogman debate, lend a hand. I'm fighting a losing battle here. Number 3, strange things in Montana. Montana is sometimes called the treasure state. All the gold and silver that have been uncovered there, and also for lesser reasons for all the wild cryptid stories that come out of it. For seekers of the supernatural, Montana is a treasure trove, a real treasure state. Now, Deer Lodge is a city in Montana, and it's purported to be a hotbed of supernatural occurrences. Rumored to be home to creatures that defy classification and scientific convention and avoid the trail cams. until recently. A local rancher from Deer Lodge caught something bizarre on his land when something tripped the motion sensor on his trail camera. Now the black and white footage shows a blindingly bright glowing humanoid with what looks like an oversized and oblong head walking bizarrely in front of the camera. My first thought is that Simpsons episode has Mulder and Scully guest starring. The Simpsons episode with Mulder and Scully where Mr. Burns is glowing green through the woods. That's what I'm thinking of when I see this. Now this trail cam was miles away from any roads or trails, so there shouldn't be anybody creeping around. But there is. The rancher returned to the site of the photo and stood in the same spot and tried to mimic the composition of what he saw. When he posed himself against and compared the other image, he came out looking pretty human, compared to the sort of odd alien proportions of the glowing being, which also happened to be devoid of any features. So what was it? Now some believe it to be extraterrestrial life. Popular. The show Ancient Aliens, the most reputable name in alien news, took the trail camera footage to analyze for authentication. No alterations, manipulations, inconsistencies were discovered of any kind. Well, I don't know what's going on in there. Others wondered if perhaps the creature could be a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or maybe even some other manner of currently undiscovered or unknown cryptid we don't even know about. This could be a first contact scenario. So what do you think was caught on this trail cam? An alien? A Sasquatch? Something dreadfully normal? We may never know, but it's fun to theorize. Number 2. The Sadako trampoline. Have you ever seen The Ring? Or perhaps the original, Ringu? Probably not, because if you saw The Ring, you would have died roughly 7 days after that, and then you wouldn't be able to watch all of these lovely videos on Top 5 Scary, and I'd miss you too much. The Japanese original is one of my favorite horror movies ever, which you probably notice if you watch this channel a lot, because I crowbar references in to Sadako roughly 3 times a week in these videos. Not my fault, she's the definitive ghost girl. Love her in Dead by Daylight, big fan of her. I can't think of many things I've seen in my life half as creepy as that image of Sadako stretching herself out of the TV into the real world, the greasy, long, stringy black hair over her pallid face. Oh, well, exactly for what happens in this next clip, which is just as terrifying. Take a look. At first, it seems like someone filming some summer fun, until you get a better look at what appears to be a figure clad all in white, crawling out from under the trampoline, looking a lot like Sadako crawling out of that TV. Definitely has me scratching my head watching over again. Now, not everyone is as convinced as your easily convinced crypt keeper. One commenter on the video attempted to debunk it as a fake, lending a little bit of insight as a video editor. They said, "I'll guess that the ghost figure is a clip of someone standing up, which has been motion tracked and composited in with blurring and opacity. If the shot was stabilized, like I'm guessing it was, this would be fairly straightforward and easy. The camera shake could be added in digitally after the motion tracking is done to really sell the shot. I noticed the blur on what looks like the ghost's back as it stands up, and the jumper's leg passes over the figure, and this blur is whipped away. The clip stops as the figure is moving above the black netting, which is being used to conceal any editing artifacts." Well, okay, so it sounds like they know a lot about video editing, infinitely more than I do, and that's all well and reasonable, but could also be a ghost. Who's faking ghost videos? That's too much time in the day to be faking ghost videos. Number 1, the Jersey Devil. The infamous Jersey Devil is said to haunt the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. There are a ton of spins and variations on its origins, and if you're really curious, search Jersey Devil on our channel, nobody else's, okay? Don't need anybody else taking all those views. There's tons and tons of stories about it, but one of the most famous variations is that at a place called Leeds Point, during a thunderstorm in 1735, a Quaker woman gave birth. As the room flickered with light, the wind howled, and the poor mother who'd already raised 12 infants gave birth to the 13th. Now, some say the 13th was cursed by the devil. Some say she cursed it herself. But the story goes that this 13th child would not emerge normal, but with winged shoulders, a horse's head, cloven feet, and a wretched tail. It would soar out into the night, casting itself in the annals of folklore as the Jersey Devil. Now, over the years, there have been tons of sightings of the alleged Jersey Devil. At one point during the early 20th century, sightings would get posted in the hundreds in local newspapers. Now, our local newspapers don't reference cryptids as much as they used to. I'd like us to get back to that. But what we do have is TikTok capturing it, the modern day newspaper. Take a look at this wild footage that has been going viral across TikTok and Instagram. We see the horrific creature perched, and yeah, I'm not in the business of patronizing you. This is a CGI creature. It's impressively rendered, and they did a good job editing into the scene, but that background isn't Jersey, for starters. The problem is they made this look too Good. The creature is too well modeled and animated in a broad daylight setting. You know, a really good cryptid fake would have had the camera a lot grainier and blurrier, and I personally would have set it somewhere a little more rural, a little more farmlandy, foresty, but it's entertaining nonetheless, right?